Two of everything. Once long ago, in a humble little hut, lived Mr. Hack-Tack and his wife, Mrs. Hack-Tack. They were old and very poor. What little they ate came from their tiny garden, right down here. In a lucky year, when the harvest was plentiful, Mr. Hack-Tack had a little extra to take to the village. There he traded turnips, potatoes, and other vegetables for clothing, lamp oil, and fresh seeds. One spring morning, when Mr. Hack-Tack was digging in his garden, his shovel struck something hard. Puzzled, he dug deeper into the dark ground until he came upon an ancient pot made of brass. How odd, said Mr. Hack-Tack to himself. To think that I have been digging here all these years and never came upon this pot before. I will take it home. Maybe Mrs. Hack-Tack can find some use for it. The pot was big and heavy for old Mr. Hack-Tack. As he stumbled along, his purse, which contained his last 5 gold coins, fell to the ground. He tossed it into the pot for safekeeping and staggered home. His wife greeted him at the door. Dear husband, what a strange pot! Mr. Hack-Tack explained how he found the pot. I wonder what we can do with it, said Mrs. Hack-Tack. It looks too large to cook in and too small to bathe in. As Mr. Hack-Tack leaned over to peer into the pot, her hairpin, the only one she owned, fell in. She felt around the pot. She's feeling around, see where it is. And suddenly her eyes grew round with surprise. Look, she shouted, I pulled out 2 hairpins, exactly alike, and 2 purses too. Sure enough, the purses were identical, and so were the hairpins. Inside each purse were 5 gold coins. So what happened? Anything that was put into the pot seemed to have doubled. Mr. Hack-Tack was so excited he jumped up and down. Let's put my winter coat inside the pot. If we are lucky again, the pot will make 2 coats, and then we will both stay warm. So into the pot went 1 coat, and out came 2 coats. So there's the coat that he's putting in. They began to search the house and quickly put more things into the magical pot. If only we had some meat, wished Mr. Hack-Tack, or fresh fruit, or one delicious sweet cake. So right now, they're getting pretty excited that everything is doubling in the pot. So they're going around their house and they're finding things that they can fit and put in the pot, or things that they have so they can get 2 of. So this is a little exciting. Mrs. Hack-Tack smiled. I know how we can get anything we want, she said. Mrs. Hack-Tack smiled. I know how we can get anything we want, she said. She put their 10 coins into 1 purse, then threw it into the pot. She pulled out 2 purses with 10 coins in each. So how many coins do they have now? 20. What a clever wife I have, cried Mr. Hack-Tack. Each time we do this, we will have twice as much money as before. The Hack-Tacks worked late into the night, filling and emptying the pot until the floor was covered with coins. Morning came, and off went Mr. Hack-Tack with a long list of things to buy in the village. Instead of vegetables, his basket was full of gold coins. So remember, when he went into the village before, What did he use to get some of the things he needed? He used the vegetables from his garden. So that's why the story says instead of vegetables, he has gold coins now. I wonder if people in the village are thinking, like, where did he get all this money? Mrs. Hacktack finished all of her chores and sat down to enjoy a cup of tea. She sipped her tea and admired the brass pot. Then, with a grateful heart, she knelt and embraced it. Dear pot, I do not know where you came from, but you are my best friend. She stooped over the pot to look inside. So it almost looks like she's leaning inside. Uh-oh. At that very moment, Mr. Hacktack returned. His arms were so full of packages that he had to kick the door open. Bang! Mrs. Hacktack was so startled that she lost her balance and fell head first into the pot. Mr. Hacktack ran over and grabbed his wife's legs. He pulled and tugged until she slid out onto the floor. But when he looked at the pot again, he gasped. 2 more legs were sticking straight out of it. Naturally, he took hold of the ankles and pulled. Out came a second person. She looked exactly like his wife. So what happened here? Mrs. Hacktack doubled. The new Mrs. Hacktack sat silently on the floor, looking lost. But the first Mrs. Hacktack cried, I am your one and only wife. Put that woman back into the pot right now. This looks like the new Mrs. Hacktack, right? There she is sitting, maybe a little scared. I think this is the original Mrs. Hacktack. Look, I can see from the facial expression, she's the one who's yelling. Mr. Hacktack yelled, No, if I put her back, we will not have 2 women, but 3. 1 wife is enough for me. He backed away from his angry wife and tripped and fell head first into the pot himself. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Both Mrs. Hacktacks rushed to rescue him. Each grasped an ankle and together they pulled him out. There were 2 more legs in the pot, so they pulled out the other Mr. Hacktack too. Just what use does one Mr. Hacktack have for another? Mr. Hacktack cried angrily. This pot is not as wonderful as we thought it to be. Now even our troubles are beginning to double. But his wife had been thinking while he was yelling. Calm down, she said. It is good that the other Mrs. Hacktack has her own Mr. Hacktack. Perhaps we will become the best of friends. After all, we are so alike. He will be a brother to you and she a sister to me. With our pot, we can make 2 of everything, so there will be plenty to go around. So I'm going to stop right here. Do you agree with Mrs. Hacktack that it's good that there is double of them? Do you agree that maybe they can become best friends? What do you think would be good about it to keep the both of them there? To have 2 Mr. Hacktacks and 2 Mrs. Hacktacks. Why is that good? And why may that cause trouble? So what are the pros and what are the cons? Think about it. And that is what they did. The Hacktacks built 2 fine new homes. Each house had identical teapots, rice bowls, silk embroideries, and bamboo furniture. From the outside, the houses looked exactly alike. But there was one difference. Hidden in one house was a big brass pot. Of course, the Hacktacks were always very careful not to fall into it again. The new Hacktacks and the old Hacktacks did become good friends. The neighbors thought that the Hacktacks had grown so rich that they decided to have 2 of everything, even themselves. So do you think anybody in the town knows about their brass pot? I don't think so. And that's it. I just want to go back. I just want to think about the story for a little bit. Do you think that Mr. and Mrs. Hacktack got a little carried away with doubling things in the pot? Do you think they were getting a little too greedy? Do you know what greedy means? So greedy means is like when you really want something and you just want more and more of it and you're just not always happy or satisfied till you get more. So do you think they became a bit greedy with the brass pot? Yes or no? And why? I think, I'll give you my opinion, I think they did become a little greedy at first when they started putting all the coins in and doubling the coins. Now, I know in the beginning of the book it said that they were poor, so they did not have a lot. But I think that for a little bit they were taking advantage of the fact that they had this pot that they could double things. But I think that after, when both Mr. and Mrs. Hacktack both got doubled, they then realized, maybe we should slow down with this. So what do you think that the lesson here in this story is? Remember we talked about how sometimes authors write a book and they want to teach you a lesson, or the author's message, the author's trying to tell you something. What lesson do you think that you could learn from this story? And think about, if you could double something, what would you double? All right, I hope you enjoyed this story. And yeah, all right, bye.